A widow in East Los Angeles in 1956 stretched 1 pound of ground beef across 4 nights of dinner. She lit the stove at 5, fed herself by 6, and sat at a table that used to seat 7. The radio played Spanish songs from a station in Tijuana. That meal is number 1 on this list. Number 18 used a quarter of a chicken to make supper for 3 evenings. Number 11 was a single bowl built from yesterday's tortillas and an egg. These 25 dinners were not the food of big Sunday tables. They were the food of widowed cooks, retired brachero workers, and abuelas living alone after their grandchildren moved to the suburbs. Hit subscribe so the recipes do not vanish with the last hands that knew them. Here are the 25 forgotten 1950s Mexican dinners for seniors living alone. Number 25. Frijoles de la olla. A clay pot held pinto beans, water, half an onion, a clove of garlic, and a pinch of salt. That was the whole recipe your great-grandmother used. A senior in the Segundo Barrio of El Paso would put the pot on the stove in the morning and let it work all day on the lowest flame. By evening, the broth turned thick and brown and smelled like every kitchen on the block. You ladle 1 bowl, drop in a spoon of lard from the jar by the stove, and eat it with a hot tortilla folded in your hand. The next night, you reheat half of what is left. The night after that, you mash the rest into refried beans. 1 pot, 3 dinners, and you taste the broth alive on your tongue every time. Your abuela cooked these the same way her own mother cooked them in Chihuahua. Nothing about the method had changed in 200 years. The cheap clay pot held the heat better than any pan you can buy today, and the flavor it built was the kind only patience makes. Number 24. Caldo de pollo. A retired cannery worker in Boyle Heights kept a bag of chicken backs in the freezer for the days her hands ached too much to cook. Backs and necks cost almost nothing at the carniceria on First Street, 20 cents a pound in 1955. She simmered them in water with a carrot, a stick of celery, half a white onion, and a sprig of cilantro from the back step. 2 hours later, the broth tasted like Sunday at her mother's house in Jalisco. She pulled the bones out, shredded what little meat clung to them, and ate the soup straight from the pot with a stack of warm tortillas on the table. She kept this routine for years, the leftovers thinned with rice the next day. The day after, she added a cube of squash and called it a new dinner. 1 chicken back, 3 meals, and your kitchen smelled like home for 3 days running. That is what these old recipes did. They worked harder for you than the cooks who made them. Number 23. Sopa de fideo. A widow in West San Antonio kept a paper bag of dry vermicelli noodles next to the stove. They cost 5 cents a coil at the Mexican grocery on Guadalupe Street. She browned a handful in a spoonful of lard until they smelled like toast, then poured in tomato puree she had crushed by hand from a single fresh tomato and a clove of garlic. Water, a pinch of salt, 10 minutes covered. The fideo softened into a thick red soup the color of brick. She ate it in a clay bowl with a spoonful of crumbled queso fresco floating on top. Her grandchildren in the suburbs were eating canned spaghetti out of a Chef Boyardee tin that same year. She did not need the can. She had memorized the soup before she could read. If you make this once, the muscle memory comes back fast. Your hands know it. The smell is what your own grandmother smelled like on the day she cooked just for herself. Number 22. Arroz con huevo. A grandmother in the Mission District of San Francisco came home from her shift at the laundry and lit the burner before she even took off her shoes. White rice from the morning sat covered in a chipped pot. She heated a tablespoon of lard, slid in a single egg, and let the white set hard around the yolk. The rice went under the egg, hot from the bottom up, and she broke the yolk with the side of her fork so it ran down through the grains. A pinch of salt, a slice of avocado from the tree in her cousin's yard, 2 spoons of yesterday's beans on the side. 5 minutes from stove to table. Her late husband used to laugh that this was a poor woman's dinner. She kept making it after he was gone because it was a dinner that did not require him. Some of the best food you ever ate came from a cook who had stopped trying to impress anyone. Number 21. Papas con chorizo. The corner store in the Logan Heights neighborhood of San Diego sold loose chorizo by the quarter pound, 11 cents in 1957. A retired field worker bought just enough for 2 dinners. He fried 2 small potatoes in their skins until the edges crisped, broke up an ounce of chorizo into the same pan, and let the orange grease coat every cube. 5 minutes on a low flame. He spooned it onto a hot corn tortilla, folded it, and ate it standing at the counter because his table felt too big since his wife passed. The smell stayed in the apartment for an hour after dinner. He liked the smell more than the food. It made the room feel like someone else was home. If you have ever cooked for one, you know what he meant. The dish your hands remember is sometimes the only company your kitchen has. Number 20. Tortilla con frijoles enrollada. A simple rolled tortilla with a smear of refried beans, eaten standing up. A widow in Tucson in 1958 made these on the nights when she was tired but not too tired to feel hungry. She heated a corn tortilla on the comal until it puffed, slid a tablespoon of beans across it, sometimes a sprinkle of dry crumbled cheese, sometimes just salt. She rolled it tight and ate it in 4 bites. Total cost, 3 cents. Total time, 2 minutes. She called it taco de pobre and never apologized for it. Her own mother had eaten the same thing in Sonora during the Revolution. Some recipes survive because they are too simple to die. This is the dinner you make on a bad day. It does not pretend to be more than it is. That honesty is the comfort. Number 19. Migas. A grandmother in El Segundo barrio kept a tin of stale tortillas on the shelf, the ones that had gone leathery by Tuesday. She tore 3 of them into rough strips, fried the pieces in a film of lard until the edges crackled, then poured 2 beaten eggs over the top and let them set. A spoon of fresh salsa from the jar in the icebox finished the dish. She ate it for dinner more often than for breakfast. A working senior knew that eggs were cheaper than meat, that day-old tortillas were free, and that a hot plate of migas at 6 in the evening made the kitchen feel useful. The dish is older than the border. It has been feeding tired hands since before there was a Texas. Spaniards brought the idea over with their leftover bread, and the women of northern Mexico turned it into something better with corn tortillas instead. By the 1950s, migas had crossed every neighborhood from El Paso to Sacramento. You could find a different version of it in every household, depending on what was in the icebox that week. Some cooks added beans, some added a slice of leftover ham. The widow in Segundo Barrio added nothing but salsa, because the salsa was the dish her own mother had taught her to make first when she was 7 years old. The hands you cook with are never just your own. They are the hands of every woman who ever fed you. Number 18. Chilaquiles verdes. A retired seamstress in East Los Angeles bought half a chicken from the butcher on Brooklyn Avenue every Sunday. She boiled it Sunday night, ate the breast Monday, the leg Tuesday, and saved the rest for chilaquiles on Wednesday. She tore 6 stale tortillas into triangles, fried them quick in a little lard, poured a green salsa of tomatillos and serrano over the top, and let the whole thing soften for 2 minutes. The shredded chicken from the bones went in last. A spoon of crema, a sprinkle of white onion, a few leaves of cilantro. The plate steamed in a way that fogged the kitchen window. She would sit by that window and eat slow because her grandchildren had asked her not to live with them, and the chilaquiles were warmer company than the empty chair across the table. Wednesday became her favorite night of the week. Not because the chilaquiles were special, but because the smell of green salsa on hot tortillas was the smell of her own mother's kitchen in Guadalajara, and on Wednesday nights, she was still that woman's daughter. Number 17. Calabacitas con queso. A small pot of zucchini, sweet corn, and white onion cooked in a spoon of lard until soft. A widow in Albuquerque grew the zucchini on a strip of dirt behind her adobe house. The corn came from a neighbor's yard in exchange for a stack of tortillas. She added a handful of crumbled queso fresco at the end and let it melt into ribbons. The dish cost almost nothing because almost nothing in it had been bought. She ate it from the pot with a spoon, standing at the stove, the back door open to catch the cool evening off the Sandia Mountains. Her mother had taught her that the best dinners were the ones that did not need a table. If your neighbor still grows squash in the summer, you have the start of this dinner already. The recipe is a way of cooking what is around you, not a way of buying more. Number 16. Huevos rancheros. A rancher's widow in the Rio Grande Valley kept a glass jar of ranchera sauce on the counter at all times. Tomato, garlic, jalapeno, a pinch of cumin, all crushed in the molcajete every Sunday and used through the week. For dinner, she heated a corn tortilla on the comal, slid 2 fried eggs on top, and ladled the warm red sauce over the whole thing. The yolks broke and ran into the sauce, and the tortilla soaked it all up from below. She finished the plate with a few smears of refried beans on the side and a slice of avocado if her neighbor's tree had given any that week. The dinner cost a nickel. The flavor cost 40 years of practice. Here's the thing about a good ranchera sauce. You make it once on Sunday, and it pays you back all week. That is the secret of cooking alone. One effort feeds you for days. Number 15. Tacos de papa. Mashed potatoes wrapped in a corn tortilla and pan-fried until the shell crunched. A retired railroad worker in Houston ate these every Friday during Lent in 1955 because the church said no meat and his pension said no money. He boiled 3 small potatoes until tender, mashed them with a fork and a spoon of lard, salted them hard, and rolled them into 6 tortillas. He fried the rolls in a shallow pan until they turned the color of brown paper. A spoon of red salsa and a sprinkle of crumbled cheese on top, and that was supper. 6 tacos for 9 cents. He shared 2 with the cat that came to his back porch every night and ate the other 4 himself. The cat outlived him. His daughter in Galveston told the priest at his funeral about the cat, and the priest said, "That cat was raised on real Mexican food." And everyone laughed because everyone in the church had eaten his potato tacos at some point in the last 20 years. Tacos de papa are the dinner of working men who never made it past the 8th grade and women who fed 7 children on a husband's pension. You will not find them in a restaurant. The dish is too simple to charge for. It is also too good to forget. If you make a batch this week and freeze the extra rolls before frying, you have dinner waiting for you on the night you cannot face the stove. Number 14. Nopalitos con huevo. A widow in San Antonio walked to the empty lot behind her church every Tuesday and cut 3 young cactus paddles with a paring knife wrapped in a rag. She had been cutting nopals from that lot since 1942. She scraped the spines off at home with the back of a knife, sliced the paddles into thin strips, and boiled them in salt water for 10 minutes. Then she scrambled them into 2 eggs with a half tomato and a pinch of cumin. Free protein from a wild plant her grandmother in Coahuila had taught her to recognize as a child. The dish tasted faintly green and sharp, like grass cut by rain. She ate it slow with a hot tortilla and a glass of water. There was nothing on the plate she had paid for. There was nothing on the plate that was not exactly what she wanted. If you have a cactus in your yard, you have this dinner already. Number 13. Caldo de res. A cup of beef broth with 1 chunk of soup bone, a wedge of cabbage, half a small carrot, a piece of yellow squash, and 1 ear of corn cut into thirds. A senior in the west side of Chicago made this on Sunday in a pot that fed her through Wednesday. The bone came from the Carniceria on 18th Street, 12 cents in 1956 because the butcher knew she walked there in the rain. She simmered everything for 2 hours and ate the broth with a spoon of cooked rice in the bottom of the bowl, a squeeze of lime, and a sprinkle of chopped cilantro. Caldo is not a dish for fast cooking. It is a dish for women with time on their hands and not enough company to fill it. Your slow Sunday afternoon becomes the most important ingredient in the pot. The broth does not get rich on its own. You give it your day, and it gives you 4 dinners back. Number 12. Lengua en salsa verde. A small portion of beef tongue stewed slow in green tomatillo salsa. The tongue was cheap because most American shoppers in 1955 walked past it. A retired laundress in Corpus Christi paid 40 cents a pound for a half tongue, simmered it in water with onion and bay leaf for 3 hours, peeled the skin off, and sliced it thin. She covered the slices with a salsa verde from boiled tomatillos and serrano and warmed the whole thing in a small pan. She ate 2 slices a night with a tortilla, and the rest froze in a wax paper packet for the week after. Her late husband's mother had taught her this dish in 1922 in a kitchen in Tampico. She thought of that woman every time she pulled the wax paper from the icebox. Most cooks today have forgotten how to handle a tongue. Your butcher will still sell you one cheap if you ask. The dish is too good to lose. Number 11. Albondigas soup. A grandmother in San Bernardino made 4 small meatballs from a quarter pound of ground beef, a tablespoon of cooked rice, an egg, and a pinch of mint from the pot on her windowsill. She dropped them into a tomato broth with diced carrot, zucchini, and a handful of cilantro. The 4 meatballs fed her 4 nights running. She ate one at a time, in a bowl with a corn tortilla on the side. The broth deepened in the icebox between dinners and tasted better on day 3 than day 1. Her mother had taught her that albondigas were a poor woman's chicken soup, the dish you made when you had a little ground beef and a lot of time. By 1958, she had both of those things in equal measure. Here's what most cooks miss about this soup. The mint is the trick. You leave it out and the broth tastes ordinary. You add it and the bowl tastes like a sundae in the hills above Guadalajara. Number 10. Picadillo. Ground beef cooked down with potato, carrot, tomato, onion, garlic, and a pinch of cinnamon. A widow in El Paso made a small batch on Monday and ate from it through Friday. She browned a quarter pound of carne molida in lard, added the diced vegetables, and let everything cook together until the potatoes turned soft and the meat absorbed the tomato. The cinnamon was the trick. Her mother in Chihuahua had used a cracked stick of canela in every batch of picadillo, and the smell pulled the dish into something between dinner and dessert. She spooned the picadillo onto a hot tortilla, folded it, and ate it leaning against the kitchen counter so she did not have to look at the empty side of the bed through the open bedroom door. Some dishes feed the body. Picadillo fed the part of her that still cooked for 2, even though she only set 1 plate. Now, if you make this with the cinnamon, you understand. It is the smell that does the work. Number 9. Arroz a la Mexicana with a single egg, a simple plate of red rice cooked with tomato, garlic, and onion, topped with 1 fried egg and a slice of avocado. A retired mariachi in East Los Angeles cooked his rice on Sunday in a thick clay pot that he had carried up from Guadalajara in 1949. He browned the dry rice in lard until it smelled like nuts, added a tomato puree he had crushed by hand, then water, then salt. 20 minutes covered, the lid lifted off the pot, and the grains stood up dry and red. Every weeknight, he scooped 1 cup of the rice into a bowl, fried 1 egg in the same lard pan, and slid the egg on top. The yolk ran down through the rice. He ate it with the radio on, listening to a Spanish-language station that played the kind of songs he used to play in clubs on Olvera Street before the arthritis ended his trumpet career. The radio was tuned to a Tijuana station that came in clean past sundown. He would close his eyes between bites and pretend he was in his old dressing room. The trick to good Mexican rice is the toasting. You brown the grains hard in lard before any liquid hits the pot. If you skip that step, the rice turns to a mushy red porridge. If you do it right, every grain stands separate, glossy with oil and tomato. The mariachi had learned this from his own grandmother in 1923. She had learned it from her grandmother in the 1880s. The recipe was older than the kitchen he cooked it in, older than the country he lived in, older than the country he had been born in. By the time the egg hit the rice, the song on the radio was always one he knew, and the kitchen was always full of someone, even when no one else was there. Number 8. Quesadilla de comal. A simple corn tortilla folded around a slice of Mexican white cheese, heated on a dry comal until the cheese turned to a thread. A widow in Boyle Heights ate this on the nights when even cooking felt like more than she could give. The tortilla cost a penny. The cheese cost a nickel. The total dinner cost 6 cents in 1955. She ate it sitting on her front step in summer, watching the kids on her block play stickball under the streetlight. Her own children had grown up on this same step eating the same quesadilla. None of them lived in the neighborhood anymore. The streetlight still came on at the same time. The kids playing stickball were now the children of the children she had fed. Some kitchens are not lonely. They are full of everyone who ever ate there. When you make a quesadilla on a comal tonight, you join them. Number 7. Sopa de arroz con pollo. A small pot of soupy red rice cooked with shredded chicken and a few peas. A grandmother in Pilsen, Chicago, simmered this on Wednesday and ate it through Saturday. She browned a half cup of dry rice in lard, added a tomato puree, 2 cups of water from the chicken she had boiled the night before, a clove of garlic, and a handful of frozen peas her neighbor had bought at the New Jewel grocery on Halsted. She let everything cook until the rice turned tender, but the dish stayed wet, halfway between rice and soup. She added a cup of shredded chicken at the end and ate the whole thing with a tortilla folded by the side of the bowl. 4 dinners from one pot. Her sister-in-law in Mexico City had taught her this recipe in 1937, and she had made it the same way every week for 20 years. Some recipes are not so much cooked as remembered. Your hands know the order before your head does. Number 6. Bistec en salsa. 1 thin slice of beef round simmered in a red salsa of tomato, garlic, jalapeno, and onion. A widow in San Antonio bought 1 piece of bistec milanesa from the Carniceria on Houston Street, 12 cents in 1957, and stretched it across 2 dinners. She seared the meat fast in a hot pan, then let it finish in a salsa she had crushed in the molcajete that morning. The thin steak soaked up the salsa, and the salsa pulled the meat juice into itself. She ate 1/2 on Tuesday with a tortilla, the other half on Wednesday with a spoon of beans. Her mother in Monterey used to say that 1 good piece of meat could feed a sad woman for a week if she knew how to cook a salsa. By 1957, she had been a sad woman long enough to be very good at salsa. This is what cheap food does for you when you respect it. It teaches you to be better with less. Number 5. Atole con pan dulce. A warm cup of corn flour drink, thickened with masa, sweetened with a cone of brown sugar, flavored with cinnamon, served alongside a piece of pan dulce from the panaderia on the corner. A retired widow in San Diego ate this for dinner on the nights when her stomach was tired and her teeth hurt. The atole was warm and soft and asked nothing of her body. The pan dulce had been baked that morning by a baker named Don Arturo, whose own mother had taught him in Sinaloa. He charged a nickel for a piece the size of her hand. She ate the whole piece and drank 2 cups of atole and went to bed full. Some seniors say atole is a baby's drink. Some seniors know that the same things that feed a baby will also feed a grandmother whose body has come back around to needing the same gentle food. When you cook for one and your body asks for less, atole is the dinner that listens. Number 4. Frijoles refritos with a hot tortilla. The simplest dinner on this list and the one most often eaten. A grandmother in El Paso heated a half cup of cold pinto beans from the icebox in a film of lard, mashed them flat with the back of a wooden spoon, and let them crisp on the bottom of the pan until they pulled away in dark sheets. She folded a hot tortilla around the smear of refried beans, sometimes added a sprinkle of dry queso, sometimes a slice of jalapeno from the jar. 3 minutes from stove to mouth. Total cost, 2 cents. Her late husband used to call this dinner cuando no hay nada, when there is nothing. She had made it 3 times a week since he passed. There was always something. There were always beans. The cheapest thing on your shelf is sometimes the most loyal. It is there when nothing else is. Number 3. Mole con pollo, the small batch. A widow in Mission, Texas kept a glass jar of mole paste in her icebox at all times. She made the paste once a year in a big batch on the day before All Saints, then portioned it into a dozen jars and used a spoonful at a time through the next 12 months. For dinner, she warmed half a cup of chicken broth in a small pan, stirred in a tablespoon of the mole paste, dropped in 2 pieces of boiled chicken, and let everything melt together for 10 minutes. She served it over a half cup of white rice with a sprinkle of sesame seeds. The dish smelled like Christmas every time she made it, because the mole had been cooked at the same time every year for 38 years. A senior cooking alone learns that one big effort once a year can feed her for a long time after. Your kitchen rewards the cooks who plan ahead. Number 2. Pozole de pollo. A simple bowl of pork-free pozole, made with shredded chicken instead of the traditional pig because chicken was cheaper and easier on a tired stomach. A retired curandera in the Pilsen neighborhood of Chicago kept a can of hominy on her shelf and a chicken thigh in her freezer. She boiled the thigh with onion and garlic until tender, shredded the meat, dropped in a cup of drained hominy, ladled in 2 cups of the broth, and finished the pot with a few teaspoons of red chili powder. She set out a small plate with shredded cabbage, sliced radish, a wedge of lime, and dry oregano so she could top each bowl the way she wanted that night. The bowl tasted thinner than the pozoles of her childhood in Michoacan. It was still pozole. It was still hers. The first spoon felt like Sunday in 1928 even though it was Tuesday in 1958, and that small trick of memory was worth more to her than any expensive meat. Number 1. Caldo de pollo with avocado and rice, the dinner that began this list. A widow in East Los Angeles in 1956 made this once a week and ate from it for 4 nights. A small chicken from the carniceria on Olvera Street, simmered 3 hours with carrot, onion, garlic, a wedge of cabbage, and a sprig of cilantro. She ladled the broth into a deep bowl, added a cup of cooked white rice from the morning, dropped in a few chunks of pulled chicken, and finished the bowl with thick slices of avocado from the tree on her cousin's lot in Lincoln Heights. A squeeze of lime, a few sprigs of fresh cilantro, a hot tortilla on the side. She turned the radio up when the song from her wedding day came on. She did not cry. She just ate the soup slow, and the avocado floated on top, and the broth tasted like every Sunday in her mother's kitchen in Jalisco when she was a girl in 1912, and the table was full and her father was still alive, and the world had not yet asked her to feed only herself. Caldo de pollo is the simplest forgiving dinner a senior can make. The chicken is cheap, the vegetables are cheap. The act of cooking it slow in a pot that takes up half the stove is what makes the kitchen feel like a kitchen again. That is what most people miss about cooking for one. They think the goal is to fill the body. The real goal is to fill the room. These 25 dinners are not gone. A clay pot is sitting on a stove in El Paso right now. A windowsill in Boyle Heights still holds a bag of mint. A back step in Albuquerque has a knife and a cactus paddle waiting for someone's careful hands. The seniors who cooked alone in 1956 are mostly gone, but the recipes outlasted them because the dishes are simple and the ingredients still cheap. Make one of these this week? Pick the simplest. Stand at your stove. Let the pot work. Your kitchen will remember what to do, even if your hands have forgotten.